So Kamaru Usman and Leon Edwards just had a press conference for their fight at UFC 278, and I thought, why not do a reaction video breaking down some of the highlights from that show, because you guys seem to like the last video I made breaking down the UFC 276 press conference, and let's talk about it right away. I'm doing another one. Yes, there was 2 press conferences back to back, Thursday, Friday. No idea why they did that, and I'm going to say this before I even get into breaking down some of the funny moments that they had. This was a good press conference. It was a good one. They had some good moments. They were playful back and forth. They got a little bit serious in some moments as well and started talking some trash and stuff like that. And then there was a moment at the end where Usman kind of like baited Leon Edwards with the belt, and Edwards went to grab it and Usman like pulled it away last minute. There was some funny moments. There was some funny stuff back and forth. They like quoted the let's wrestle kid and stuff like that. But even still, this press conference suffered because how do you follow UFC 276? Seriously, UFC, I have no idea why they did this at this day. I understand. Listen, it's going to get a bunch of views. It's on the fight week of UFC 276 where everyone's paying attention to the UFC. Let's have Usman and Edwards promote their fight in August ahead of time so that we can get a little bit more pay-per-view sales going. Let people know that the fight is official and made, because some people may not know that yet. And let's just have it going on. You know what I mean? So everyone knows it's official, and all of the casual fans that are tuning in for UFC 276 will now know that this is going on as well. However, I think that kind of backfired on them, because how do you follow UFC 276? Unless Sean Strickland was hosting this press conference between Usman and Edwards, there's no way you can follow it. So by comparison, this seemed very boring, but it was actually quite good. If you take your sort of bias of we just had maybe the best press conference of all time thanks to Sean Strickland, and just watch it as on its own, compared to some of the other ones we've had, this was a pretty good one. They were joking around, they were taking jabs at each other, they got a little bit serious and it calmed down again, and there was some like funny moments and stuff like that, but it's just difficult, you know? It's just a weird placement to do it in. An hour before the UFC 276 weigh-ins. Do you not understand how algorithms work? The only reason I held back making this reaction video until now was because I was waiting for the weigh-ins to be over, because that's where all of the UFC fans are going to be on and watching, because they're not going to be now watching your video that you just posted of the press conference. So I doubt that'll do too many views, but it might still do some, because Usman's built himself quite a bit of a name now. But there were some good moments. It got serious in certain moments. They were like joking, and then all of a sudden it's serious. And then it's joking. We're joking now. Everyone's cool. We're joking. And now it's serious again. You know what I'm saying? It was a very bipolar press conference to look out for. Usman was sort of poking at the fact that he has more finishes in his championship reign than Leon Edwards has finishes in the UFC and stuff like that, and sort of flexing his accomplishments. By the way, who let him dress himself again? Who's letting Usman dress himself? What is going on with the outfits that Usman's wearing? It's like he has the potential to be a star, and there's like maybe some things he could alter, and maybe it would become a little bit more popular, but then he just comes out in like homeless gowns on Kamaru Usman. It's very, very strange. I don't know why he does this every time. Maybe it's a thing for him. Maybe it's like an inside joke with him and his daughter, and like, Daddy, wear a funny outfit, like the pink one that he had on, like the bubblegum blazer and jeans that he had on for one of the backstage moments that we saw him in recently and stuff like that. But either way, I have no idea. The style preferences of Usman are beyond me. I'll be honest with you. That is, maybe he's way ahead of the curve of fashion. Who knows? Maybe Usman's so fashionable, we need to catch up. You know what I mean? Unless you're looking like an idiot, you're not fashionable anymore. That's the 2022 way. But either way, Usman had some good moments poking at Leon Edwards. He also said they were talking about their first fight, and they were also talking about how this isn't going to be a wrestling match. And Usman was like, I'm going to wrestle. And then Edwards was like, well, let's wrestle then. Let's have a wrestling match then. Let's wrestle, back and forth and stuff like that. And they mentioned that. And then afterwards, Leon Edwards even said, you thought Tyron Woodley when he was like an injured gazelle and all of that type of stuff? Dude, that was a McGregor line, but Leon Edwards just doesn't have the voice for a combat sports show. It was good. Leon Edwards is a cool guy. That voice ain't made for combat sports. It's just, I'm just saying it how it is. You can't talk trash with that voice. You just, I'm gonna fuck you up real bad. That's 9 fights in a row. Like, it's just, there's only so much you can feel intimidated when hearing that voice. Trust me, Leon Edwards is a badass, and he would beat everyone up, and he would beat me up easily, and I would still laugh in his face as he threatened me. I'll be honest with you. I know he could beat me up. I know he's Leon Edwards. I know exactly who he is. If he ever threatened me in real life, I would laugh, and there's nothing you can say that would change that, okay? It's just very strange. Very, very strange, you know? That's 9 fights in a row. I don't know why he doesn't do that in the press conference and bring out some of those memey quotes that have been going around about him. He should lean into it, in my opinion, and make it happen. But, yeah, you know, it was a weird thing. And, you know, he said he wants to represent the UK and Jamaica and show people that he can do it from where he's from and stuff like that. And that was a bit cool. And Usman was sort of taking some jabs at him and saying, like, if I had 30 seconds left in our first fight, I would have finished you. I was beating you up in that third round and stuff like that. And to be fair, Leon was denying it, but at the same time, Usman was landing some decent shots at the end of the third round of their first fight, but Edwards, of course, pointed out that he was 23 years of age at that time and a completely different fighter. And he said, I started when I was 17 and I was 23 in that fight, so that was 5 years. So Leon Edwards' maths isn't his strongest point. I'm trying to pronounce my TH. I would have said maths otherwise, but I'm trying to fix that problem. But I'm just going to fucking do it because I'm from fucking South London. Either way, Leon Edwards, maths isn't a strong point of his, which is, you know, that's 6 years. You know the math. You know what I mean? It's pretty simple. But either way, yeah, that was about it, really, wasn't it? I mean, what else happened at the press conference? Usman was just sort of poking at him the whole time, really. Just poking at him, prodding at him, saying, like, how are you going to finish me? And I put out the guy that you... Oh, they mentioned Jorge Masvidal. That's a big moment I need to mention as well. Usman was sort of mocking Leon Edwards. Like, I thought you and the Mandem were going to do something about Masvidal smacking you up backstage or something. And Leon was like, he escaped the country. They hid him from me. I couldn't see him. He would have been dead, trust me. You know what I mean? And all that type of stuff. But, yeah, Kamaru Usman was just sort of mocking him for that. And he said, you're welcome. I put him out for you and stuff like that. Which was a pretty decent line. Listen, Usman, if he wasn't wearing, like, ripped up curtains, he probably would have been on some real cool vibes in that press conference. He had some decent moments, some good lines. By the way, I just want to talk about the stare down real quick as well. Edwards is a giant man. I know that Usman ain't 6 foot anymore. I'm just going to say it how it is, because Edwards ain't really much taller than Darren Till. So if Darren Till claims 6'1", Edwards is claiming 6'2". Maybe Darren Till's a tall 6 foot and Edwards is a tall 6'1" or something like that. They're pretty similar in height. Usman was at least 3 inches shorter than him, I would say. So I think Usman ain't 6 foot. Usman's about 5'11", a tall 5'10", something along those lines. I've never really believed those heights of those welterweights, like Covington 6 foot, Usman 6 foot. Made no sense to me next to like a Masvidal who's 5'11", who seems to be like the same height, if not taller than them. It never made sense, but Edwards is a big guy for that division. I know he's very skinny and very lean, and he doesn't have a big head or anything like that, very skinny legs and stuff like that, but he's a big guy for the division frame-wise, and that could cause a little bit of problems for Usman, I guess. But Usman was talking about how he was going to wrestle, and he's going to make that happen, and Edwards was talking about how all you did was hold me against a cage and stuff like that. That's 9 foot stomps in a row, and all of that type of stuff. Like, Usman basically was holding Edwards against a cage and kneeing him in the behind the entire time. Edwards had his back to Usman, trying to break the grip, and Usman was just grabbing onto Edwards and kneeing him in the backside over and over and over again, stomping on his feet, punching him up here and there against a cage. But if you watch that first fight back, Edwards actually had some decent moments defending takedowns and making stuff happen there and stuff like that. And I think he's pretty underrated. If you watch that fight back, he had a good performance compared to a lot of other people that have fought Kamaru Usman. I know Usman is now a bit better. I'm actually leaning Edwards in their fight that they're going to have. I think he's tall, rangy. Covington gave Usman problems at range at times, and Edwards way rangier and way more technical. And I do understand that Usman is like, his physicality kind of carries him in these fights. So you can look at Usman throwing a double punch or winging like a shot like he's doing a front crawl in a swimming pool against Jorge Masvidal and think, oh my God, this guy's garbage. But like, he knows when to make it technical when he needs to. And he's very physically strong. He's got great cardio and explosiveness. I mean, a real underdog story for Kamaru Usman. Of course, the only athlete ever in history. And I don't mean combat sports athlete. Now listen to this underdog story. The only athlete ever in sporting history, let alone the UFC, let alone MMA, let alone combat sports. The only athlete in sporting history who has a corrupt pharmacist as a dad just so happens to have been able to make it to the number one pound for pound fighter on earth that's made his way to the top based on physicality and not skill. Now that's an underdog story. That really is. Talk about defying the odds, in all honesty. Credit to Kamaru Usman. I know people don't like me saying that, by the way, but I'm not wrong at all. And that's the weird part, but that's okay. Usman had some good moments though. Usman was pretty good with the trash talk. He was beating Leon Edwards in the trash talk and stuff like that. I'm just gonna read some of the stuff that they had in it, and I think at one point in the press conference, I'm just gonna check Instagram real quick because they posted a clip of it, and I'm actually gonna give it a quick listen back because it was Usman saying something to Edwards, and I think it was just him saying that he had more KOs. Saying that he was close to finishing the fight. Wow, you weren't going to finish me. Wow, don't be silly. And all that type of stuff. And then Usman also mentioned, let's talk about this as well. This is what I wanted to talk about. I'm still thinking about skipping middleweight and going to that light heavyweight title too. Just think I can beat some of those guys. There are some killers in that division, and I definitely respect that. But I think those guys who are at the top, there were a couple of guys out there that I would probably take out and stuff like that. But I don't think he's going to beat the light heavyweights. I don't know who he's talking about as people that he would lose to. Maybe Glover would be able to out-grapple him, and maybe he's thinking Yuri's a tough one for him, because if Glover can't keep Yuri down and he keeps springing back up, you couldn't keep Masvidal down, so you ain't getting him down. I think he actually just preferred Jan Blachowicz as a matchup for himself. I think that's the only guy that he really preferred as a matchup for himself. He genuinely believed, I've got a good chance against Jan Blachowicz, so if he becomes a champion, it'll be because of that, and he wants to probably fight Jan and stuff like that. But I don't know why skip middleweight, man. Why skip middleweight? I understand why, because he said like he'd rather 2 belts in Africa, and he doesn't want to fight another African fighter and stuff like that. And then he narrowed it down afterwards when people kept questioning him about like, why don't you want to fight another African fighter? He started narrowing it down. Oh, another Nigerian fighter. That's my brother, Israel Adesanya. But, like, you've met each other a couple of times backstage at fights. So why not fight each other? But apparently, like, just keeping your ethnicity at the top is more important than, like, competitive edge and actually achieving some legacy and stuff like that. So, F no side away. Not F no side, but ethnic cleanse away in the UFC. I mean, do what you want. I mean, I don't think any British fighter would do that, but Usman can do what he wants. If he wants to be friends with Adesanya and doesn't want to fight him, I think he'd have a good chance against Adesanya. I want to see that fight, man. It actually annoys me that he always talks about, skip to light heavyweight, and I want to jump 2 divisions, and he never mentions Adesanya. Like, you're not real friends. You barely talk to each other. Like, you're just both Nigerian ethnically. Neither of you grew up there. You met each other backstage at an event and said a couple of words in Nigerian. I tiff from you, and I tiff, just pidgin English. And all of a sudden, you're best friends? Like, fuck that, honestly. I really hate that. I really, really hate that. That, like, we're the same ethnicity, so we have to not fight each other and keep each other at the top of the sport. Like, it's more than that, man. Compete against each other. Make it happen. That's what the sport's about. Usman versus Adesanya would be an amazing matchup. A massive fight as well. And it's actually kind of needed right now, is it not? At a time where you've got Adesanya fighting the winner of Pereira Strickland. Strickland's number 5 or 4. And Pereira's not even ranked. And if he wins, he gets a title shot. That's how desperate they are to find contenders. Now would be the perfect time for Usman to move up after an Edwards fight or something like that, or maybe he's got to get through Chimaev first and then he can move up and stuff like that. But we wouldn't have had to have seen all of these rematches with Masvidal for no reason, and Covington after an epic win over Tyron Woodley, who everyone had beaten at that point. And it just feels like it's so... We needed that. We needed that Usman versus Adesanya fight, but we're not going to get it. They're the same ethnicity, so that won't happen. But yeah, Usman really pranked him at the end, faking out with the belt and stuff like that, shooking him with it, and Leon Edwards went to grab for it and missed it and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it's a tough matchup. I think it's a tough matchup for both of them. I think it's going to be a big one. And to be honest, the first fight was pretty good. It's just Leon Edwards' voice, man. I can't get over that. Like, I like Leon Edwards, but man, the voice just ain't made for combat sports. It's hard to understand what he's saying. It's just like Usman will say something cool and he's got his glasses on and he's got like a line that he's ready to say and it hits and it works well. And now it's time for Leon Edwards to respond. I mean, it's just like, yeah. I'll fight for the title. Like, it's just, it don't work the same. That's the problem with Leon Edwards. Although I do think he's got a good chance against Usman though, so I'm looking forward to it. Toodle Pip, see you later. Thank you for watching. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. I probably did. There was a lot of stuff like, you know, it wasn't really there was no massive big moments to remember like there was at the UFC 276 one. And I didn't take any notes, but let me know if there was any moments that you think I missed that you enjoyed in the comments below, I guess. Toodle Pip, I'll see you later. Goodbye.